Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Young. Commissioner Hammercheck.
Present. Okay, we have before us the meeting minutes of September 23, 2021. Do we have a motion to approve same, waiving reading thereof?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. All right, this brings us to our first public comment portion of our meeting. We have several presentations here. If we may begin with Lake Tran. You have a presentation regarding the Mobile Food Pantry Award. So let's hear what you have to say.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Ben Capel. I'm the CEO of Lake Tran. I wanted to come today to present an award to the Commissioner's Office for your collaborative efforts with us on the Mobile Food Pantry. We were presented an award at the Ohio Public Transit Association conference that happened earlier this month that awarded us for collaborative excellence. And so, a collaborative award is not great for just one person, it's great for all those that collaborated, right? So, I tell everybody that Lake County collaborates better than everybody else. That's kind of a weird thing to say, right? But, it's true because we all have the same mission, the same goal, and we work together and execute beautifully. And the Mobile Food Pantry is an example of that. We certainly couldn't have done it without the help of the Commissioner's Office and the great staff here. And so I really wanted to come today and just recognize the fact that, this collaboration meant a lot to Lake County, and it was great to work with the county commissioners on this, and we are very appreciative of your support and everything we have done together. So I have a couple of things. I have an award here for you guys, and actually when we submitted the award, RSVP of Lake County was still separate. So I have two different plaques, one for the Commissioner's Office and one for RSVP of Lake County. But I really do mean that Lake County collaborates better than anybody else because we just, we all work together so wonderfully. And I'm really honored to be able to come here today and present you these awards. So, thank you from everybody at Lake Tran and especially from myself. So,
Bless you. Thank you. And we should want to come on up, Kristen, now that you're part of the family here. We have Kristen Kane, the RCP. Yeah, we can come on around. We'll make it happen.
Good. I've got plenty of things. That one terrifies me. I'm afraid I'm going to.
Why don't you give that one to Commissioner Hammercheck or Commissioner Young?
How's he doing? Yes. There we go.
Can you look at me? Thank you. Chad?
I'll be last.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Can you give one from mine because you're taller?
From this, using me for my height. 1, 2, 3. That's good with the flags.
There we go.
She has
All right.
trouble for moonlighting, is it?
Right.
Thank you. Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, continuing on with the theme of good news, we have a presentation from our treasurer. Treasurer Zern, would you please come on up?
I do have an update for the commissioners on the surplus funds account that I was informed of when I took office through Commissioner Pleshnik. We've been working on this the surplus funds account, and we've been addressing it year by year. So we're in 2018 right now, and we have returned as of today about $50,000 in overpayments to taxpayers. Recently, we were out at the Metro Parks, and we found a large amount of money that they paid when they acquired some properties, and we returned that a couple days ago. But I just want to say how proud of I am of my staff. They have been really excited with the support that they're getting from the commissioners to return funds, and more checks are coming in. They're working on it diligently. I think the year of 2018 is going to be closed out pretty soon, and then I'm going to come back to the commissioners and see if we could return that money that we cannot find to the general fund, and that should be probably happening in the next couple weeks. So thank you for all the support, and it has been an absolute pleasure to return the surplus funds. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. Commissioner Young, Mr. Plechnik, anything for our treasurer?
Mr. President, what more can we say than thank you to our new treasurer for hitting the ground running so quickly. This has been a problem for decades. This fund has grown to about $5 million over decades, and many treasurers have been unable to tackle this issue. But right off the bat, Mr. Zurin has made this one of his top priorities to return the taxpayer dollars to the people who really own it. And it's making a huge difference. We see that in the metro parks with a transformational amount of money, $47,000. That's enough to make a significant difference in one of our play areas as they're trying to renovate and make them more accessible. So in very real terms, you're building up Lake County by doing the job of treasurer better than any before you. The fact that you're doing it in your first couple weeks is remarkable.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the support, and we will keep working on this, and I'll keep you guys updated. I'll keep the commissioners updated.
Very good.
Thank you.
Now, Commissioner Plechnik, remember, remarkable is the Visitors Bureau slogan, so. Commissioner Young.
I just want to say that it's fantastic. I've never seen someone take office and within a matter of just a few weeks turn everything around like this. It's extremely impressive. Now, I was hoping, on a more personal note, to tell you the truth, I was hoping when you came forward that you had dug into my account and found substantial monies there, but I not to this point, I guess, right? But there's still 2019 and 2020.
It goes back into the, I believe, into the 80s. So there could be a check for you. We'll have to let you know right away.
There's always hope. No, great job. Thank you.
Very good. And continuing on with the theme, we have Mary Norman. She has a presentation regarding the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. An update today. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you, commissioners. Yes, I wish I had a slide up there, but you guys have captured something. That actually is a slide that as you scroll down, you can have an online application at fairhousingresourcecenter.org, one of our local partners. Their website is fhrc.org. But the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, let's call it ERAP for short, Lake County, by virtue of us having more than 200,000 population, was qualified for and accepted an allocation of $6.8 million from Treasury. And the purpose of this, the overarching purpose, was to provide stability to renter households during this time of COVID. It is specifically for those renter households that had a COVID-related hardship, and this fund could be used to provide current, past, and future rent and utilities to keep people stable within their homes. Income limits of 80% of area median are applicable to this program. Today's the close of the third quarter of the program, and it's time to get to work in that Treasury portal and do those reports. The initial months of the program were used to learn and relearn about the program as Treasury issued guidance, first in January and then 6 more times after that, as they amended and made the program incrementally more responsive to the need. Adding to some of the uncertainty of program launch and development and implementation was the presence and lack of presence of the eviction moratorium. And during that time that we were setting up locally, there still was the ability to serve the public through the state of Ohio funds that they had available and were implementing through the same local partners that we selected. Our local program launched on July 1st after the Board of County Commissioners passed the resolution and executed an agreement in the amount of $6 million with our primary partners of Lifeline and Fair Housing Resource Center. And after this rather diligent start, there was and continues to be a considerable response. In July, there were just 2 households assisted for just over $3,000. But as of last Friday, September 24th, that total's increased to 75 households and over $300,000 out the door in assistance. This includes 4 veteran households that were assisted by our Veteran Service Commission, who came on after the fact. They'd expressed interest all along the way and couldn't wait to get them involved. Staff expansions at Lifeline and Fair Housing that were enabled by this funding stream have included intake workers, administrative staff, and financial assistants. And most recently, a staff attorney has been added at Fair Housing Resource Center to work with the courts and the tenants in launching a eviction diversion program. Those local efforts will possibly be enhanced by that collaboration and support from the Ohio Supreme Court, who on September 2nd, Honorable Maureen O'Connor called for early intervention to this pressing problem and launched a judicial guide to eviction diversion toolkit. So here's your manual, here's how to do it, lay it right out there for you. So as part of the demand for this program, the normal intake at Fair Housing Resource Center is about 1,300 a year calls coming in. In this quarter, out of the 689 intake calls they had, 451, 66% were for assistance for this program. They all have to go through the process, and we're trying to make that process as easy as possible, but it takes a little while. So the need is out there. And there have been and there'll be more opportunities to reach out to tenants and landlords to have this program utilized to the fullest extent possible. It's easy to reach our partners through that website and the phone call. And there's handy dandy flyers that have been sent out to landlords, are available on social media. And there's even a billboard at the Lake County Fairgrounds, and I'm making arrangements to connect with our famous collaborators and include something in the mobile food pantry, because as they reach out, they'll reach one household, and then that one household will share with other households. But you can also look in social media for the eviction prevention program. Will be hitting the bricks soon. Okay? Any questions?
If I may, I'd like to echo and amplify what you said. You were instrumental in getting that $6.8 million to come to Lake County. That was something that had to be asked for. It wasn't something automatically given.
Right.
We've received some attention from national media. Why haven't you been spending this money? Because we've been spending the monies previously allocated first. A little bit hard to get through some people's heads, especially when they're calling from New York and Los Angeles. The concern that I have is, and you've addressed it, is you're doing it right. You're setting it up not like a business or not like a government model. You're setting it up like a business model with the purest of government intentions. You're actually addressing the needs of the people. And now that it's coming up to speed, I commend you and the team that surrounds you. You've been our go-to person on this, and you deserve recognition for that. We've got a really good team here at the county level, and our partners with Lifeline and with Fair Housing. They've really stepped up, and they're taking it to the next level. That's commendable in serving the people of Lake County, and it's, again, from a business model, you're doing it right. You're being effective and efficient. My colleagues, if you want to chime in and add to this.
Mr. President?
Sir.
Two things.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to thank Marion Norman for always putting Lake County first. As the president said, there are many quote-unquote grants that everyone gets. It's passive. If you're a county or a city, here's the check, here's your allocation, here's the formula. This had to be applied for. This took work, this took professionalism, and there's nothing in Marion's job description that says she has to be super proactive, but she is, because she cares so deeply about our community. That's obvious. And you made a $7 million difference in this community. That's why the census shows we're one of the few growing counties in Northeast and in all of Ohio. It's because everyone goes above and beyond. So I really want to say thank you to Marion Norman and all of her staff who helped her in bringing this support to Lake County, because this was not a guarantee. People can call 211. People can reach out to this resource only because Marion and her team put Lake County first and went above and beyond their job descriptions to bring a transformative amount of resources to this problem. And the rental assistance program is going to make a very big difference in people's lives. And I think it's important to note, not just the tenants, which is where the focus is, and we think about people who need a home and a place to live, but I've talked to landlords who said, my gosh, you saved me. This is my living. And when I have tenants who can't afford to pay and we're caught in the throes of a potential eviction, I don't know if I can put food on the table and pay the bills. They're like, I'm so thrilled that Lifeline did this. And Lifeline is an incredible partner and we're grateful to them. But I have to say, well, actually, Marion Norman and the staff in Lake County applied for this grant. So as you're saying thank you to Lifeline, well deserved, thank them too, because they made a huge difference in this. And the second thing, Mr. President, because we segued so quickly from honor to honor, is I do want to acknowledge and thank Ben Capel and Lake Tran for being the collaborators they are. We could easily talk about them in the context of ERAP or the mobile food pantry, COVID-19, because they've participated in every county project as great partners bearing us up. And that's not the case with every regional transit authority. So Lake Tran has been an incredible partner. An award for collaboration is not any one person's by definition, but Lake Tran brought together a lot of diverse groups of volunteers, nonprofits, churches, small businesses, and Lake County to make sure that last year when people were most in need, there was an opportunity to help feed the hungry, to volunteer to support our neighbors. And so we thank you for being an umbrella where all the different county agencies, businesses, volunteers could come together to make a big difference for our neighbors. So big thank you to Ben Capel and to Lake Tran for putting our residents and neighbors first.
Well said. Commissioner Young, I believe you had something you wanted to add, sir?
Yeah, I just want to say that we can't let the pandemic beat us.
Of course.
And you're playing a major role in that. So it's quite impressive. And Lake Tran, all of Lake County has come together. It's easy for folks in government because we are somewhat insulated from the ups and downs of the economic trends, from layoffs in large degree at this point. And oftentimes folks in government sort of just drift along with current programs and just keep things rolling. But I love the way we've responded here in Lake County. You know, we've looked at the problem, we've evaluated it, we determined what our weaknesses are, where we need to fill in the gaps, and preventing disruption to families, as this program helps to do, keeps them in the workplace perhaps, gives them an opportunity to go out and find a new job if necessary, to start a new business if necessary. It gives them a basic foundation to work from as a family or as an individual to move forward with their lives without having to pack everything up, move somewhere else, probably a lesser place to live, at least for a while. They don't have to go through all that. They can focus on building their lives again. And it's wonderful to work with you and so many others here in Lake County to keep the ball rolling. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Commissioner.
The work's not done. There's
Indeed.
more to come, so I'll keep you informed. Okay.
Excellent, excellent. I think these three presentations, any one of which would have stood on its own, but showing how closely connected. When Ben pointed out collaboration, mentioning our SVP, Kristen Kane, she's part of the county family now. All of these connections, how important it is. And Marion, your work with, I'm going to make sure I say it right, the Fair Housing Resource Center, I'll just call it Fair Housing, but you know that's their property name at Lifeline, has been commendable, and just getting everybody on the same page, in the same book, pulling in the same direction. High praise. So for that, we thank you.
We'll try to expand those partners. Thank you.
Good. Okay, we are still in our first public comment portion. I'll turn it over to anyone in the audience wishing to address this board at this time. Do we have anyone in the audience wishing to address this board at this time? I see no takers at this point. Okay, moving on with our agenda. If there's no objection, I would like to move to item 12 of the special resolutions. We have Kathy Strankar from Forbes House. I think it would be appropriate to have her come up and you can explain to our folks in attendance and those viewing what these lovely flowers are about. So,
yes, thank you.
Objection.
October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And as Forbes House, and these flowers are supposed to be a reminder of the fact that when a life is free from abuse, it's in full bloom. And we want to obviously raise awareness this month, but always and beyond. We start with some facts. So last year, Forbes House served 276 adults and children in shelter. Advocates responded to more than 2,000 phone calls. 741 of those were crisis calls, meaning individuals that had to have contact with hospitals or the police departments and sheriff's offices. 227 of those individuals attended support groups, and court advocates advocated for more than 306 survivors in court. Those survivors range in age from newborn to the age of 81. Forbes House is the only domestic violence shelter located in Lake County. We're dedicated to providing confidential services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. In a safe and supportive environment, services are provided through shelter, a 24-hour helpline, court and personal advocacy, peer support, domestic violence education and outreach, information and resources, safety planning, and referrals. While many in our community today are fearful of contracting or dying from COVID, others are fearful of dying at the hands of their partner. Abuse is happening in homes across Lake County and beyond every day. And it is our only safe haven as Forbes House. We are here today to proclaim that it's not okay, it will not be tolerated. Please, if you suspect someone is in an abusive relationship, refer them to us or their loved one so they can get help.
Bless you. Forbes House has been so important here in Lake County, and the years have not always been kind to Forbes House. You've gone through a lot of struggles, but again, as we like to point out good things, you're working very hard. I know you've been in the job now about a year and a half?
2 years today.
2 years.
Today is my anniversry.
Goodness, time flies.
Yeah.
So to your credit, you've really been taking the controls, and
Thank you.
board, good people, and you're definitely making progress. I can't thank you enough for the service you provide. I know in my time with Madison Village Police, when there was a situation and a need, Forbes House was always there. Non-judgmental, always welcoming, always constructive.
We
And
serve
that's-
all. We serve all.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Young, Commissioner Plechnik, anything?
You sure, John?
I'll let you go first this time.
I just want to say briefly, you hear a lot about a safe place. People are taught, I guess, some forms of meditation or whatever, the safe place. But you have the real safe place, a solid place to make a home for a while, a safe place. And we're so glad you're here in Lake County. So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Mr. President,
Sir.
just following off Commissioner Young, we're so glad that Forbes House is in Lake County. There have been a few folks, believe it or not, who've said that you don't need a domestic violence shelter in Lake County, that it's enough to have one in a neighboring county or nearby. And I want to say as a commissioner, no, it's not enough. There has to be a domestic violence shelter in Lake County, and Forbes House, through thick and through thin, as the president said, in tough times and in good times, has been there for us. So Lake County 100% supports Forbes House. We're grateful for the service that you provide. We understand that your staff are working to help people in the worst situation. That's not an easy job, but it's a job that must be done for our community, for the safety of the people we care about. So thank you for your service, and we're grateful that we have the opportunity to raise awareness about domestic violence, which happens everywhere, even in the best community. This is an evil we have to combat. And by facing it head on, we're saving families, we're saving lives. I really should say you're saving lives, so thank you.
Thank you. The team is saving lives, yeah, right? Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Excellent.
I
Thank
just
you.
want to say also happy anniversary.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be. You're going to have a party out there?
No. They won't give me cake.
Maybe we could have one here. I'm always ready. Feel ready for a party.
I like cake.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you.
All right, that's a great lead-in. Madam Clerk, item 12.
In special resolutions, resolution proclaiming October 2021 Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Lake County, Ohio.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Anything we want to add? Very good. No additional information being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. And I'd be remiss, my colleague will remind me if I don't say, can we present this to you and get a photo, please? Thank you.
You're part of the team.
The more smiles, the better.
Looks good. Good for me.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you want to now switch back to item number 1, please.
In the Utilities Department, resolution accepting a 3-year maintenance bond in the amount of $16,992.20 for sanitary sewers and $1,216.16 for water lines for Ridgewood Green Phase 2 subdivision in the City of Mentor and the City of Willoughby, job numbers 20-02 and 20-59.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In Job and Family Services Department, resolution approving the Lake County Prevention, Retention, and Contingency Plan biannual renewal for the period of October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2023, certifying compliance with Chapter 5108 of the Ohio Revised Code and adopting the plan and authorizing execution of the plan.
Move to approve the Prevention, Retention, and Contingency Plan biennial renewal.
Well said. Second.
And discussion, Suzanne, other than the obvious meaning of the title of this, is there anything you'd care to add?
Well, that was great. And we actually referred to this program as our PRC program because it is quite a mouthful to say. I would just want to add a little bit of information about this program, especially for the public who may be watching. So this is a program funded with federal TANF dollars. We do have local flexibility on how we administer the plan. And the PRC assistance group must contain at least a minor child who resides in the home with a parent or relative or kinship caregiver, or a PRC assistance group would include a pregnant individual with no other children. So this is a great benefit for our community and the individuals that we serve. We are able to provide assistance with shelter expenses, internet services, automobile repairs, furniture. This is also part of our Family Services Planning Committee provides input into this plan as required in the code. So thank you today for considering this resolution.
Very good. Thank you for that additional information. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of a service contract between Ohio Guidestone and the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services to provide a supplemental nutrition assistance program, employment and training program to required participants.
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion, Suzanne, anything you want to add?
Sure. We have been contracting with Guidestone for several years now to administer this program for our SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program recipients. We've had a great working relationship with them. They assist the unemployed or underemployed who are SNAP recipients to work towards self-sufficiency.
Very good. Thank you. If there's nothing further, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving Lake County Department of Job and Family Services vouchers, date of warrant October 8th, 2021, in the amount of $37,135.43.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution approving the transfer of bond retirement funds to the general fund of Morley Library and directing the Lake County Prosecutor to file a petition with the Lake County Court of Common Pleas for the transfer of bond retirement funds to the general fund on behalf of Morley Library.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Legal, did you want to add anything to this, sir?
Yes, Commissioner. Our office was contacted some time back with regard to extra monies in the improvement fund, the substantial improvements that took place at Morley Library, approximately $27,000, and pursuant to Title 57 and the specific code sections in there, we do need a resolution by this board allowing the prosecutor's office, our office, to file a petition with Common Pleas Court to request that those monies in that particular fund be transferred to the general fund of the Morley Library.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anything further? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution reappointing Kenneth R. Gauntner to the Lake County Senior Citizen Advisory Panel for a new term commencing October 1st, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion, I would be remiss if I didn't say that this person, the one following in item 7, we have a good problem. You have more qualified people than you have spots available. That's a good problem. Lake County, as we've heard the discussions about collaboration, we also have a number of people who will, as individuals, step up to participate and make a difference. So Ken Gauntner is one of those people who represents that, is a good exemplar in that category of life. Gentlemen, anything you want to add to that? Okay, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Sir.
I think we'd be remiss in not adding our congratulations and noting that Mr. Gottner is our former county administrator, so we're appreciative of his continued service to the county.
Oh, indeed. And again, just to add, he's also a Madison Township trustee, and he's been a good resource for information to continue to help make this board better. So he's very free with information and his knowledge and wisdom. So you're right that that is well worth adding. Madam Clerk?
Resolution appointing Ellen Foley Kessler to the Lake County Senior Citizen Advisory Panel for a term commencing October 1st, 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion, I think little information there. Ellen also represents the, you've heard RSVP discussed quite a bit today. She was a key member of the RSP board and will be a tremendous addition to the Senior Citizen Advisory Panel. Ken Spence-Klein, fantastic individual. He has served for a number of years, great guy, but we needed somebody from our SVP, so Ellen has agreed to step up and help serve, so I just wanted to kind of show where we're moving some players around here, but Ellen's going to be a tremendous addition to this board. So with that, thank you, and if there's nothing further to add, Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Sir.
in congratulating Ellen Foley Kessler, I'd also note that she serves as a member of the Lakeland Community College Board of Trustees. So like Mr. Gottner, she serves Lake County in many respects, and we thank her for her continued service.
Well said. Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $1,653,488.09.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $1,750,435.22.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing an appropriation for a non-general fund account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring appropriations within various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Moving on to departmental reports. Utilities. I believe Gary Feedick has a presentation there, Randy?
He does, Commissioner. Thank you. We've been talking about our big picture projects out at the landfill for a year or so, and Gary would like to give an update on some of the day-to-day operations out at the landfill.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Gary, the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. As Randy said, we're going to spotlight the solid waste or landfill operations a little bit today. But before I do that, I just wanted to thank the clerk for integrating my slides into the agenda today. I'm going to talk about some business analytics. Hopefully that's not too boring. I only have a couple of slides, so it'll be short and kind of walk you through what we have been doing the past couple years. Just from background, you probably know, but we only have about 8 employees that are Lake County utilities, 8 that actually work at the landfill. Obviously, we have Rumpke that helps us with the day-to-day operations. But this first slide, I'm just going to walk you through it, again, very generically and very briefly. But basically, you're looking at a 20-year history, and the key point here is on the right in 2020, we've had a record year in terms of tonnage received in 2020. That happened, obviously, during the pandemic. So again, I'm not spending a lot of time on it, but fluctuations up and down, but as of late, very busy at the landfill as it relates to trash received. Another way to say it is people did not stay home during the pandemic. They were, I guess, had free time cleaning their houses and decided to come to the landfill in 2020. So that'll kind of take care of the first slide. We'll move on to the second one. The second one, again, generically, we have a lot of companies that visit the landfill. The major players are listed there, just to highlight some names that you might recognize: Major Waste, Republic, Waste Management. We have a lot of other smaller entities that we service, but again, this is just an overview that the bigger players are to the left there, and it's substantial tonnage. So that'll take care of the second slide. This third one, the yellow line is this current year, 2021. The blue line is last year, 2020. And again, with 2020 was a record. Right now, we're seeing that this year, even though we're in the September heading into October, the yellow line is above the blue line. So we're possibly going to break last year's record in terms of how many people are visiting the landfill and where we're putting the trash. Again, certainly we still have plenty of capacity. We have plenty of years left in the facility, so that's not the point of the discussion. But right now, as we're tracking operations, certainly busy the past 2 years, and that's kind of all we're saying here on this graphic, with, again, yellow being this year. We move to the last slide. Same discussion. I won't say a lot, but it's just, this is looking at transactions or monetary transactions as opposed to tonnage of trash. This is how many people we see on a regular basis. Naturally, the spikes are during the summer, during the middle of the year. There's a lot more activity of people coming, and we're handling cash or credit card transactions. There's obviously some fall off in the winter years where people aren't getting out as much, but certainly a lot of activity going on. So to kind of wrap this up and some of the takeaways, from my perspective and from Randy's perspective, our team has really performed in a safe manner through the pandemic with a lot of activity through the past couple years. I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank our staff and Director Tim Gurley and his team for what they've done, realizing that they have face-to-face interactions every day with the community through the pandemic, and there's some things we modified to minimize face-to-face contact, and we'll continue to modify operations to make that safe. But I just wanted to thank their department for what they've continued to do, and conclude to see if there's any questions as we point out their hard work.
No, excellent report, and appreciate everything being so concise. Commissioner Young, Commissioner Plechnik, anything?
Mr. President, as always, we thank our Department of Utilities. You're doing great work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Gary, great presentation. Thank
All
you,
right,
sir.
turn it back to you.
Ditto. Good work.
Okay, Randy, he's making you look good, so that's good.
These departments make us look good.
Indeed, indeed. Anything further, sir? Okay, nothing additional from utilities. That moves on to Job and Family Services. Suzanne.
Good morning. I wanted to thank the commissioners today for partnering with Job and Family Services on the postcards that recently went out to the public to raise awareness regarding recognizing the signs of elder abuse and how to report elder abuse. Thank you again for that support and that partnership.
Indeed. Thank you for the opportunity and the service that you're providing. Anything for JFS?
Mr. President, I just reinforce what our Director of Job and Family Services said. The Board of Commissioners is 1,000%, not 100%, 1,000% committed to raising awareness for elder abuse in this county. Just like domestic violence, this is a problem that cuts across every income group, every walk of life. Lake County is not exempt from it. And it is one of the most difficult crimes to prevent, to prosecute, to address, because the victims themselves often don't even know they're victims. So please, if you see elder abuse in your family, in your neighborhood, your community, reach out to Job and Family Services. We have them for a reason. They're here to help your family. They're here to protect our community. And our seniors need that extra watchfulness, because for too long we've said this doesn't happen here. Well, it happens everywhere. So thank you for your commitment in this very difficult work to make sure that our seniors are protected.
Thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Young?
Well, I could just say that the obvious, and that's just that people should be able to find peace in their latter years. So, and you guys play a big role in that. So, thank you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, moving on to our county administrator. Jason, you've been a very busy man these last several days.
Yeah, it's all good. Just want to tag team onto the last conversation about adult protective services. I'd be remiss not to note that the taxpayers of Lake County have overwhelmingly supported our senior levy. And in our initial analysis in 2015, we realized that was a gap. Former Director Badiato, we need more funding for APS, guardian programs at the probate court, senior housing rehabilitation. So, we talked about the advisory panel. The advisory panel made those recommendations years ago. The citizens of the county support that. So, one of the reasons that we can, increase the level of funding for Suzanne's division of APS is in great thanks and all thanks to the taxpayers, that we heard the demand, not just senior centers, albeit the good work they do, but some of the work behind the scenes that requires additional funding. So I just wanted to add that point. It's been a busy couple weeks for the county on multiple fronts. I was in Columbus yesterday at an ARPA symposium, American Recovery Plan Act Symposium, sponsored by the County Commissioners Association of Ohio. Throw a plug into Commissioner Hammercheck for getting me in after the deadline. It was a packed house at the Sheraton downtown. I wish I had more detail. Everybody is in the same boat that we are as far as when the heck are the final rules going to be put forth. The panel, there was about 6 speakers. The best guesstimate is Christmas is when we may see federal guardrails from Treasury. I wanted a little bit more. It was a good symposium, don't get me wrong, and thanks to CCO for putting it on. But economic development's huge for the board. I still need some more definitive answers on what we can and can't do. Clearly, there needs to be a nexus to COVID, and I need to do a little bit more work with council and some other folks on figuring those sorts of things out. But it was a good symposium. I've got a lot of information to sift through, and I'll continue to do that on behalf of the board. As you know, we do have an ad hoc panel comprised of the Auditor's Office, Finance Department, and Community Planning Development that we will, similar to the senior panel, present potential projects at the appropriate time, provide legal review, and then bring projects to your attention. But I don't anticipate that, with the exception of a couple projects that are ready to go. We may see those in the next couple weeks, but per your guidance, I think it's well advised to make sure we have a complete understanding of what the final rules are going to be. The notion that I took from some of the speakers were, if they do anything, hopefully they widen some of these guidance, which would be tremendous for the needs that we have here in Lake County. So I'm a broken record, but stay tuned is the theme of the day as it comes to ARPA.
And it's important to continue to say that although we have interim final guidance, the potential for a finding for recovery if something is misspent that would be in opposition to the final guidance. I know that we've been told, well, if it is permissible under the interim final guidance, it would not be clawed back, but that hasn't been clearly defined. So if something is as clear as mud or at best gray, an abundance of caution is called for.
Right, and we know the great work that Dave and his team do regarding the legal side. We know what Mr. Matus would tell us if it's not clear. So I think unless we're 100% clear on projects, the best course, in my opinion, is to kind of pump the brakes a bit. We do have our senior housing program, our housing program that we partner with Western Reserve that is an eligible project that I'll be putting some things together for you in the coming weeks. But yeah, Commissioner, you're right. And the one takeaway, and I sidebarred with Mr. Hackman this morning, was check with legal. It was the rule of the day. And so we're going to, brainstorm with Dave and Mr. Colson on what's the best avenue to do that without overburdening their department in the coming months. So that's what I have.
Very good. Thank you. Anything additional for Administrator? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our clerk. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I wanted to mention that the next commissioners meeting is going to be next Thursday, October 7th at 10 a.m.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else for our clerk? Very good, thank you. Moving on to legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. All right, this brings us to our old business portion of our meeting. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Hearing none, moving on to new business. Do we have any new business? Again, hearing none. All right, we now come to our second public comment portion of our meeting. Do we have anyone? Sir. Welcome.
Mr. President.
Oh, please.
I'd be remiss if we didn't try to mention we could release some of the department heads at this point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, as I whacked the microphone there. Sorry about that. That was the gong. You can go now. You're welcome to stay, but if you want to beat feet and now you got it.
Still not personal.
No, but that smile's getting broader and broader when you get to skedaddle, and you have a lovely parting gift of flowers. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Young. Okay, Mr. Massey.
I had one thing, but after hearing from the Forbes house, I have two items, if I may. A few years, again, Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive. A few years ago, I did some research on the Adams Board and the various entities that they fund. And to my dismay, I found out that the Adams Board does not really support the Forbes House at all. So when I hear the commissioners saying that, Lake County is totally behind, the Forbes House, that's not totally accurate from the standpoint that what is happening, or has happened and is still happening today, is that the Adams Board funds the Geauga Women's Safe. That's not to say that the Women's Safe is a bad organization or they're not worthy of anything. It's just that when we're spending Lake County dollars, taxpayer dollars, I personally would like to see those dollars be spent on Lake County entities such as the Forbes House. So I mentioned that to the commissioners. You may want to look into it. I do not know the actual details as far as why, what are the political ramifications, and I'm sure they probably come down to politics. So I just mentioned that it is, everybody in the audience should know that's what's happening. The second item that I have is the Visitors Bureau. Not to sound like a broken record on this issue, but there's something new that I would like to share with the commissioners. I tried a new approach. I contacted Mr. Jeff Ruppel, their attorney, and I've never spoken to Mr. Ruppel. I found him to be very professional, very cordial, and a nice guy to talk to. I said to Jeff, rather than this continual confrontation, I thought I would approach the attorney for the Visitors Bureau and ask if you could find out if the board of directors are willing to voluntarily change their bylaws so that they would voluntarily be subject to the Ohio Sunshine Laws. Jeff, of course, couldn't make any commitment and said that he would bring it to the attention of the Neil Stein and the board. He did that, and then I received a letter from Mr. Stein, of which I made a copy for all three commissioners and Mr. Hackman. I will let you, I'll let the commissioners decide if you think the tone of the letter was appropriate in dealing just with an average citizen. Again, this is a gentleman that is supposed to be in charge of putting the best face forward for Lake County and bringing people into the community. I wonder if that tone of the letter really displays that type of conduct. Basically, what they told me was they're not interested in being transparent with the citizens of Lake County. I chose to go the low-key approach with Mr. Ruppel because I didn't want to identify or call out any of the board of directors that may publicly embarrass them, that they're not interested in being transparent. I wanted to give them an opportunity, and if they would do it, I wouldn't even, publish it. I would just say, well, good, they finally, came to their senses. But with the letter from Mr. Stein, I can see, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do now so that no one can say that I'm going to blindside you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call out each one of the board of directors. We will write an article, and we will say that obviously the board of directors of the Visitors Bureau is not interested in transparency. There is, if they choose to stay on the path of not being transparent, we'll have another approach is that I'm going to come to the commissioners. I received well, I didn't see, I saw this article that was on the Attorney General website, and it was dated August 30th, and it was 2 questions that were posed by the Lake County Prosecutor's Office. And basically, the 2 questions are, may a Board of County Commissioners establish a nonprofit convention and visitors bureau under Irs Revised Code Chapter 1702? And the second question is, may the excise tax levied on hotel lodging pursuant to RC 573909 be given to more than one convention and visitors bureau within the county? I did send an email to Mr. Hackman. We spoke briefly about it this morning before the meeting, but I was just wondering, did the commissioners initiate this with the prosecutors? What prompted the questions to the Attorney General? That's one question I wanted, and Mr. Hackman answered that. And you may want to say it again if he wishes.
Please, sir.
If I may, I can speak to that. I did indicate to Mr. Massey, obviously this subject has been very much forefront within the meetings over the past year or more. And so we had questions as to can the county open its own visitor bureau as a nonprofit? And the specific discussions, I did indicate to Mr. Massey, we do have clients that we speak with, and to the extent there were any attorney-client privilege involved, I can't talk about that. But again, that statute, the way it's written, not abundantly clear, and we want to get an answer to those two specific questions.
Mm-hmm. So again, the distribution of the money is up to the commissioners. Is that is correct?
Correct.
All right.
In fact, in your email, you asked me if there is another visitors bureau or more than one. What is the percentage breakdown as to the bed tax money that would go to any individual visitors bureau? And in my opinion, there is no breakdown whatsoever. It would be at the discretion of the Board of Commissioners.
So if we had I now know that we have renamed the Lake County Port Authority. Can the Port Authority role within the community, can it be expanded to be a visitors bureau also?
I'll assume that question is being directed at the board.
I'm sorry, yes,
So
okay.
I'll look to legal and say, sir, if you would.
Well,
I'm just trying to keep order.
I'm sorry, okay.
It's okay. I just don't want to set a precedent.
Mr. Massey posed that question to me. Quite frankly, we do not represent the Port Authority, and I've never researched that issue. I can't answer that at this point in time.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
Okay, and I think the board, in conversations I've had, and even with, Mr. Hackman and other prominent officials in the community, they recognize that my basic thrust of an entity, whatever entity it is that's receiving taxpayer funds, must be accountable to somebody, and it must be transparent. Just make sure that you also know that the existing Visitors Bureau is a 501c6 organization registered with the Internal Revenue Service as a 501c6, and one of the requirements is that a substantial portion of their annual revenue must come from memberships. And I think we all know that is not the case. In 2019, they had no membership dues. In 2020, they were nominal at best. So if we're generous, we'll say 90%, comes from the taxpayers and 10% comes from the members. And I think that's a violation of the IRS rules. I just want to make you, aware of that. I'm quite, a few other cards that I can play on this. Maybe ultimately it has to be that I go to the state legislature and to my elected representative, Mr. Callender and Mr. Troy, to see if we can get some relief through the legislature. But this cannot stand. This just will not go away. If the commissioners, again, another commitment I make, if the commissioners are unwilling or unable to do something, I'd like to know about it. Because I'm going to continue this, and I'll even make it an issue in the 2022 election. I feel that strong about it. We cannot have $1 million going to an entity where they're telling the taxpayers, we're not going to be accountable to you. So now, I'm not alleging, I've never alleged that there's been any improprieties or any nefarious actions by the existing Visitors Bureau. Not at all.
If I could.
Yes,
Just to go back and clarify something to legal, if I could. 501c6. Are you aware of IRS regulations that state that if such an organization receives the majority of its funds from taxpayers, or they should receive the majority of their funds through donors, any of those types of stipulations?
Commissioner, I cannot say that I've researched that specific issue in depth.
Could you confirm that for us in the next week or so?
I will look into it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
A quick little research on the on the internet. I found 3 articles within 5 minutes that showed that visitors bureaus have been and people that have worked for the Visitors Bureau have been tried and convicted of theft of funds. So although that may not happen now, but in 5 years we may have a change in the director, we may have a change in the board, and the whole thing changes.
You mean that's happened locally?
It's happened locally in Ohio. I can make you copies of this.
Not in Lake County.
No, not in Lake County, in locally. But the idea, though, and I think it's really common sense, if we don't have the citizens, doing their due diligence of oversight on any entity that has taxpayer funds, there is a chance upon human nature. It goes south in a hurry. So they're not doing it now. It is only proper that I think that they be accountable, to the taxpayers. Even if they were accountable to the commissioners, and I could get information through the commissioners being, public records, that would be something. But for them to just, be in the administration building and just turning their back on the taxpayers, it doesn't seem right. So I will close with that. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
I do have a few questions, if I could.
Please,
Mr.
Commissioner.
President.
Yes, sir, please.
Let's see here, I'm trying to find them in their letter here. They do mention several avenues to finding more information about their operations. Their tax returns, for instance. You've reviewed those, no doubt.
Whatever they filed are 990s. They're just numbers.
How helpful is that?
They're just numbers. They're just numbers.
Isn't that what you're looking for, is numbers, though? I don't understand. What you mean?
Well, I'd like them to be open to any and all questions that are, subject, to the public record law. I'd like to be able to go to meetings. And it's just the idea that they don't want to communicate. It is sort of it's a personal issue now that we've been doing this for so long. Not personal on my part, it's personal on their part.
There were some other things they mentioned here, too, that I'm having difficulty finding right now.
Well, I'm ready to talk about it anytime, offline with you, Commissioner Young, if you so choose.
Very good. I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Brian, while you're there, though, if I could just, I'm going to kind of go down a punch list here real quick. The board membership at the Visitors Bureau. There are 3 individuals appointed by the Board of Commissioners. Literally, one of those members is a personal friend and colleague of mine who I have literally trusted with my very life. So I'm pretty sure if there was any financial shenanigans going on, that individual would be reporting back, whistleblowing, all that. And I get that you're not saying that they're doing anything inappropriate, untoward. You're looking to the future, checks and balances. You were present when there was some discussion and some confusion, I believe, and it's a fair representation that the appointments were looked at more as recommendations. And there was some spirited but candid and productive conversation that took place, and we got that addressed fairly quickly. The size of the board actually increased. I think more eyes are better, and it also moves closer to the compliance with your reference back to the 501c6. Board membership, the growing and the oversight. When you say, I think you used the words, not be accountable to you. Well, the organization, there is a process, and I agree. I've seen numerous articles throughout the state or visitors bureaus. This is a common concern being expressed by citizens. The direct, you've got tax dollars being collected, bed tax, flowing through a board of commissioners, flowing to a visitors bureau. But one of the constant themes is proprietary information. I know that was one of the things that we had run into back when Commissioner Serino was here, that the Visitors Bureau engages in some proprietary activities. They're advertising, their competitive edge, if you will, in the market for encouraging travel and tourism to Lake County and retention. So those kinds of things you want to kind of keep a little bit close to the vest. I am aware, as indicated in this document, there is at least one public meeting a year where updates are given. I'll refrain from commenting further on that, but I'm just trying to see what vehicle, what information, that level of accountability. I know the IRS is on top of all these things, so if there was anything inappropriate, I would have to believe that they would be on that. If I could switch back to Forbes House, which you're probably not aware of, I did have a meeting going back about a month ago now with the new chairman, Andy Meinhold, and Kim Frazier, the executive director. Forbes House was a #1 topic, and the asking and encouraging Adams Board to work more closely with Forbes House as far as accreditations, certifications, literally shepherding through the process. It's one thing to say, you need this box of tissues and this hand sanitizer. Well, they're going to talk to you about where you can acquire the box of tissues, how you open the box of tissues, just literally walking them through the process. As was mentioned today, this is second year anniversary for the executive director at Forbes House. The time has flown. With COVID, I'm amazed 2 years has already passed. I was thinking it was 1.5 years, 2. Wow. But there is I'm going to say there's a new look at Forbes House. Adams Board, I believe, is very fresh, and Kathy Stranker, I believe, would attest to this, that the level of communication has definitely increased, the level of support has definitely increased. Time will tell. I too am the show me guy. Show me that don't just tell me, show me. Regarding Women's Safe, I too prefer let's keep everything in house. But I can say though that Lake County tax dollars being expensed at Women's Safe out of Geauga County. It is my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, those dollars are being spent for Lake County residents that are in Geauga County at Women's Safe. I don't believe that there's any dollars being spent on non-Lake County residents. But if there's something different, please share that. And I'm just trying to check all these boxes off here. I think that hits everything. Commissioner Young, did you find what you were looking for?
Well, yeah, not that much, but a little bit here. They do the state does an audit, you're well aware of that, every other year for 501c6s. And they require it to be put on the organization's website, the results of the audit. What do you think of?
Well, I mean, if they're so transparent, then why don't they be subject to the sunshine laws? What's the problem? What is the problem?
They have spoken to me about that to a point. I've never really explored it in a great deal of depth any more than with most other organizations, but revealing some of the, as a visitors bureau, you want to be able to target and support organizations that are making a real difference in attracting people to Lake County. And if they become restricted to community competition, one community feels they should be getting a higher percentage of the money from the Visitors Bureau, the support from the Visitors Bureau for their businesses locally that attract tourists. They'll start trying to base it on population trends, things of that nature, rather than on the quality of the service that's being offered to the effort by each individual business. I'd rather see the Visitors Bureau feel comfortable in targeting businesses that are really making a difference in attracting people. Not just saying to themselves, well, hey, Mentor has 1/4 of the county's population, therefore they get 1/4 of these Visitors Bureau's dollars. And if it's posted in detail as to who received each one of those dollars, then it just becomes more of
when they originally started, I don't know the exact date, they were a 501c3, and I think at the time they had 5 directors, 3 being appointed by the commissioners. Then that 5 went to 7, and then 7, to 9 when a certain individual was not appointed to the board. So why did they go from a 501c3 to a 501c6? Do you know?
No idea.
Okay.
I think that's just one. They didn't want to turn it into a political game of some sort. These money is going.
It's always a political game.
It always is. It always is. You like to limit it as much as possible. I hear what you're saying.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll talk.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President,
Sir.
for my part, I know I know Attorney Jeff Ruppel very well. I actually hired him to be an adjunct professor at Cleveland Marshall one semester. So while I haven't had the opportunity like Mr. Hackman to review the issues with the IRS that Mr. Massey's raised, I have a lot of confidence that Mr. Ruppel has reviewed them as the attorney for the Visitors Bureau, and I'm sure that they're in compliance with the law. As Mr. Massey himself said, he's not alleging that anything has been done untoward or in violation of law. So I think what we're really talking about is serving the public and the best public policy, not whether anything has been done behind the scenes inappropriately. And for my part, I think that our Visitors Bureau is doing an excellent job in promoting, I'll steal their slogan, Remarkable Lake County. I think that they are, and I think Mr. Massey would agree with that premise. But there is the concern that he's raised about whether or not the Visitors Bureau is subject to the sunshine laws. And while at first blush a nonprofit is not, by virtue of being a nonprofit, subject to sunshine laws, there is a somewhat complex balancing test the Ohio Supreme Court has laid out. The issue has been litigated, but not fully. And if you read the opinions, and as an aficionado of sunshine laws, I don't know any public official who isn't, they've never directly addressed the question. There have been issues decided on the sidelines, but one could imagine a scenario where, looking at these factors, a court could find that this is a public entity because it is funded principally by public dollars. And my personal opinion is that when an agency falls in that gray area, it's best practice to voluntarily subjugate oneself to the sunshine laws. That said, the Lake County Visitors Bureau has its own independent board, and they have a right to set those policies and to determine their bylaws, as any nonprofit does. And so they've made the decision to this point that they don't want to subjugate themselves to the sunshine laws. And I've had this discussion with our executive director, Neil Stein, and I think that their concern relates to the administrative cost and difficulty in responding to public records requests. And I can say from personal experience that it can be a very time-consuming issue, even for the individual employee or public servant to respond to sunshine law requests. And for an agency, it can employ someone full-time. And our Visitors Bureau does have a limited budget. So I understand the concerns that have been expressed by both sides, and I've been perfectly open and honest in saying that if I were the one making the call, on balance, I would voluntarily amend the bylaws to subject the Visitors Bureau to sunshine laws, both with open meetings and with public records requests. But I do understand the concern that the Visitors Bureau has expressed that they may not have the staff to respond to these requests, and I understand the issues that Commissioner Young has raised, in that sometimes confidential discussions allow for better marketing strategies and less politically decided funding decisions. So reasonable people can disagree, even though I have my position, and I agree with Mr. Massey on the right call in this particular instance. But I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that everyone here agrees that the Visitors Bureau is doing very important work on behalf of Lake County and has done an excellent job in bringing us forward. And we need to be focused on reopening Lake County in the strongest possible way. Our economy was shut down last year. That's a decision that I disagreed with. But reopening now is all the more important a challenge. And the Visitors Bureau is our significant partner in saying Lake County is open for business. Here are the attractions. Here's what we have to offer. And what I want to say to both the Visitors Bureau and to Mr. Massey, I hope that we can continue this discussion. I know there have been a lot of lawsuits and arguments, and that's public record. Lawsuits are very public things as to whether or not the Visitors Bureau could be forced into being treated as a public entity under the sunshine laws. And I personally view these lawsuits as unfortunate, because we know that they've cost tens of thousands of dollars that could have gone toward promoting the wineries of Madison, the retail of Mentor, the Lake County captains and our sports and outings. I would have preferred that money to go towards those sources. The word personal was used a couple times. I think that's a fair description here. I'm well aware, and I think that everyone's well aware that the board of the Lake County Visitors Bureau president and Mr. Massey have had an ongoing debate. And I don't think we should allow personal issues to get in the way of the important work that we have to do together. And I am hopeful, because I don't think there's a lot of disagreement here. No one is saying the Visitors Bureau is focused on the wrong businesses or concerns. I think most of these things are well agreed that we can ultimately talk this out. I've said where I'd like it to go. I'd like the Lake County Visitors Bureau to say, we are subject to the sunshine laws voluntarily and resolve the debate. But none of us should say my way or the highway. We should have an ongoing discussion about how we can best serve the public. And I will say, from talking to the executive director, he has turned over a lot of records that Mr. Massey's asked for, and I've read the articles that you've published where you've thanked the Visitors Bureau for that. So I know there are still ongoing debates and disagreements, but I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that we have a dynamic new leader at the Visitors Bureau in Neil Stein, that everyone agrees that the substantive work is being done well. And so we're really left with the issue of, should the sunshine laws apply voluntarily or otherwise to the Visitors Bureau? That's important. But as the president said, as Commissioner Young said, there are ongoing audits by the state. The commissioners do have increased say in the Visitors Bureau through 3 appointments that are not suggestions, they are appointments, and those representatives will report back to us. So it may not be perfect, and the discussion continues as it always should, but we have moved in the right direction, and I at least want to get that on the record.
They also opened it up for the annual meeting, one public annual meeting, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a step forward. Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt you. What you're saying makes perfect sense.
And you gave the perfect punctuation to it. So my point is not that we're perfect or that the job is done, but I'm very grateful to our Executive Director, Neil Stein, for continuing the conversation. I'm grateful to Mr. Massey and Lobbyists for Citizens for always lobbying for the citizen. And I know that neither of you are probably happy with what I just said or the current state of affairs, because I know everyone wishes this were fully resolved. But I want to acknowledge Mr. Massey for his care and concern, wanting accountability to the public, and I want to acknowledge Neil Stein for being a great leader for our Visitors Bureau. It's hard to have your worst critics saying you're doing a good job, but you should do this too. I mean, that's a pretty strong compliment in many ways. So I think that there's a lot more common ground here than there is disagreement, and I'm optimistic that as we continue the conversation, even though there's been some tough statements made, that we will eventually get to the right place. And in the meanwhile, the Visitors Bureau is doing great work, and I want to continue that collaboration. We've seen that with Lake Tran and our CEO, Ben Capel, and I believe that Neil Stein is a leader along those lines.
Thank you, sir. I do see, though, that we do have the Executive Director, Neil Stein, of the Lake County Visitors Bureau in our audience. Not to put you on the spot, sir, but could we, did you want to comment on any of this? And while you're coming up to the mic, I do have, and it was just shared with, I believe, this board just today, the letter Tuesday, September 28th, 2021, to Mr. Massey from the Lake County, remarkable Lake County, Ohio, the Lake County Visitors Bureau, and it is under the signature of Neil Stein. The question was asked, what do we make of it? Or I'm paraphrasing horribly, but Neil, I hope we can agree that you and I have had candid, frank conversations, sometimes spirited, but I would always say always productive, and they always ended amicably. When I read this letter, I could literally hear your words as I'm reading this. You're a very matter-of-fact individual in many ways, and that's a good thing. And when I'm reading this, I would hope that Mr. Massey would look at this through that lens. That's been the productive, positive experience that I have had. And I would hope that Mr. Massey would give it a chance, take a look at this and read it as somebody who's just, what was it, old Joe Friday, just the facts, man? So with that, Neil, if you want to add to the conversation, I'd appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Neil Stein, Executive Director for the Visitors Bureau. Thank you guys for letting me come in here today. I'll be honest, we've watched these meetings from time to time, and I've had to bite my tongue for months. I've been in this position for almost 2 years now. When I took the position here at the Visitors Bureau, the lawsuit from Mr. Massey against us had already been filed. It was, for something that was well before I started. I inherited it. The Court of Common Pleas ruled on the ruling in favor of the Visitors Bureau against Mr. Massey. He took it to the appeals court. The appeals court ruled in favor of the Visitors Bureau against Mr. Massey. So one of the things I just want to clear up is, Mr. Massey earlier today mentioned him being an average citizen, and my tone in this letter to him. He's not an average citizen in the eyes of the Visitors Bureau. Average citizens don't file lawsuits against organizations and cost us over $20,000. $20,000. And Mr. Massey's the first one to bring up that we do receive a chunk of our funding from tax money, which is a bed tax. It's a transient tax. Most of the money's not, local money. So somebody that's talking about financial and fiscal responsibility is costing us $20,000 in taxpayer money, and he won't drop it. And here's the frustration from my side of things. Mr. Young, Commissioner Young, and I and Amy Sabbath met with Brian on, what was it? I have the date in here. It was in June at some point. We tried to take the approach to say, hey, I've never spoken with Mr. Massey. The lawsuits had come, they had gone, it was over. We couldn't come to these meetings and discuss anything while these lawsuits were pending. We didn't want to say something that would jeopardize the lawsuits, so we were quiet about it. So once those were done, I had spoken to Commissioner Young about some different topics, and we brought up Mr. Massey. We scheduled a meeting. We had a meeting. I asked him point blank probably 10 different times in that meeting, what do you want from us? What do you want from us? It's transparency, it's accountability. I spoke to him during that meeting that we're literally audited by the IRS, or by the state of Ohio, every other year. The Visitors Bureau is audited. There is no more level of scrutiny than an audit every other year. So when you talk about accountability, that's about as accountable as you can get. They're looking to make sure we're spending money on appropriate things, that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we're doing what the bed tax is allowed to be spent on. Never had an issue with an audit. I also told Mr. Massey in that meeting that our 990 forms as a nonprofit are publicly available online for free. He mentioned in that meeting that he had seen them and he had reviewed them. And I asked him in that meeting to post on his blog that he realized that, because he continually talks about no accountability. And on his blog, he talks about transparency and shining light on things. And I asked him, I said, if you're true to your word, please post that on your blog to your readers and your followers, that you realize that we are audited, that our 990 form is available for anybody to look at online, and that you have read those. And here we are today, and it's not happened. So that's where the tone of this letter and my tone today comes from, is we're trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to appease one citizen. It's literally one citizen that has asked this question. And he's entitled to his opinions. We're all entitled to our opinions. And I respect that. I respect that he's looking for accountability in government, and even in us, and I get that. And there's absolutely a place for that. But I've tried and tried and tried to do the right thing, to be transparent, to give him what he wanted. He filed a public records request to us, which again, we're not a public body, we don't have to do it. We told him, hey, here's where you can get all this stuff. Here's where you can get all this information. He filed it with the Ohio Court of Claims. We had to get an attorney involved. We had to go through this Court of Claims process. We provided him everything on there. List of board members, our membership, our financials. We gave him our 2020 IRS financials because we filed them. The IRS is backed up. It's not listed on their website. We're like, here, look at them. It's going to be posted at some point. It's not on us. We proactively gave him that information. So we have bent over backwards for a citizen that has filed a lawsuit against us and has cost us over $20,000 in legal fees alone, not to count my time and my board's time and my staff's time dealing with this. I have a million other things more important to do than deal with this. There's laws. We follow the law. We are not choosing to not follow the law. The law is written a certain way, and I can't change it. We all have opinions on the laws, but we have to follow them. So the law is written that way. So that's where my frustration comes from. I was going to read this entire letter today, but I didn't realize you guys have it, so you guys have it. And again, it's so frustrating from our side of things that we spend so much time and effort on this. It's infuriating, quite honestly. I was downstairs on a call this morning. I always have the commissioners' meetings on in the background, and I heard the discussion again today, and I'd had enough. So that's where I'm at. And the other thing that's most recently frustrating, in Mr. Massey's note, he tried to take a low-key approach by contacting our attorney. I mean, there's nothing low-key about contacting our attorney. Commissioner Young can attest. When we met, I gave Mr. Massey my card, and I said, if you have a question, you contact me. Here's my phone number. Here's my email address. Have you done it? Absolutely not. Instead, you try to go to our attorney, which again, just starts that clock again to ring up those dollars. That's not low-key. So to say that you're an average citizen talking about the Visitors Bureau is not true. This is a man that showed up in front of our offices one day at 8 a.m. I'm coming in. He's filming our offices. I try to walk by him. He accosts me and says, "Are you a public body?" Tries to have a conversation with me. This is during our lawsuit. I walk by and I said, "Mr. Massey, we're not having this conversation today." That's not an average citizen. That's borderline harassment. Showing up in my office and trying to accost me as I'm walking in. Average citizens don't do that. They get a hold of me, they email me, they call me, they try to set up a meeting. So this has been 2 years, and we're done being quiet. So I just want the Board of Commissioners to know all of these things. I've mentioned most of these things to you in passing, but we're not going to sit here and just listen to a one-sided discussion anymore, okay? I'm happy to take any questions you guys have.
Gentlemen? Commissioner Young, Commissioner Plechnik.
Mr. President,
Sir.
not a question, but I think it bears repeating because we can hear how raw this is for everyone involved. And I understand personally, as I've discussed with Neil and Brian, I know what it's like to be a public servant and a taxpayer and to be in the middle of very difficult issues of concern with lawsuits, and it is hard. It is very hard. These are some of the most difficult things we deal with. But it helps when we can focus on the positive. It does. And I know that's hard to do. But the positive is that even through these disputes and debates, we're still pushing forward the good work of Lake County. We can never allow these things to become personal, even when it feels that way. And I'm saying this to all concerned, not singling any one person out. I believe that we've made great progress, as Commissioner Young has said. And one of those items of progress is helping people to understand where the information is available. And you've done a lot of work towards that goal. 99.9999999% of the job of the Visitors Bureau is promoting the great things in Lake County. This stuff is the other 0.0000001%. And I know the frustration comes from the fact that more than that amount of time has been spent here, because I know how passionate you are about doing the work. And I recognize that the board president, Mr. Massey, have history, and I know that can be difficult too, but you are new. As you said, you inherited this. This is not personal to you. This is a dispute that predated your hire. I am familiar with your great work with the Lake County Captains as their general manager. You did incredible service for that franchise. And given that they're one of our great concerns in Lake County, to make sure that people know about the attraction, I think you are literally the right man at the right time to help us move forward. So I want to focus on the positive. I want to hopefully help us to leave with a smile here, even though I know that this debate will continue. As difficult as that is, as frustrating as that is, I can tell from the conversations we've had today that the conversation will continue. But I believe that it will continue in a better way because we've already done so much to move forward. No one is 100% happy with where we are, but Commissioner Young is right. You have provided the public with the Form 990. You have compromised in terms of providing more information and having a public meeting available each year. And those steps forward will help us, I think, to address this. But ultimately, I want our focus to be on your real work, which is to make sure that we're promoting remarkable Lake County. And I know we're going to do great work together. I know in moments like this, it feels like it's me versus them, us versus them. Take it from someone who's been there before and has been punched 1,000 times harder by people who were not in good faith, who were not just frustrating, but were evil. This is a much better situation than we could be dealing with. We could be dealing with a situation where there honestly is a substantive debate about whether or not the work is being done right. There could be people who aren't just concerned members of the public, but are trying to gain political advantage or personal gain. there isn't even a hint of an allegation of those things here. This is literally a debate on an interesting niche legal issue as to whether or not the Visitors Bureau is a public body, and if it is, how they should approach things, and if it's not, how they should approach things. So I think we're lucky that we're dealing with a law professor's issue. I might have to write a law review article on this. The more we talk about it and the more it's litigated by our county prosecutor, I may have to ask Mr. Hackman if we could co-author something. But as interesting as it is to me, I don't want you to be distracted from the work that must be done for Lake County. I don't want to take away your valuable time and your effort because I want to pack Lake County Captain Stadium. I want to double the number of wineries on the east side of the county. I want to see the retail and manufacturing sector in Mentor continue to balloon, and you are responsible for that. You are with the Lake Development Authority. I almost said Port Authority. Then I'd be sued. You are responsible with our Lake Development Authority and the County Commission to really promote every single business in this county. And these interesting legal issues should be the domain of a law professor writing an article only his mother will read. It should not be something that takes a majority of your time. And so I want to continue to work with you and Mr. Massey and your board to make sure that we focus on the positive, even as we continue to address these issues. We can't ignore any taxpayer. And I understand that there's a long history between Mr. Massey and the board president that predates you. But that's good, because I think that Mr. Massey himself has to see that this is not personal to you. You know, this is a debate that began before you and hopefully doesn't go after you. Hopefully we can resolve it quicker than that. But, you know, let's leave on this note that the Lake County Visitors Bureau has important work to do, that you're doing great work. And Neil, you have my confidence. I know that you personally are doing great work for Lake County, and I'm looking forward to hopefully winning some awards like we do at Lake Tran, because we're going to do such outstanding work in promoting Lake County in the next year.
John, I appreciate all those comments. I really do. Commissioner, I'll give you 1 second. I do appreciate all that stuff. And the frustrating part to me, and again, I'm sure you guys could hear it in my voice, I tried to be above board. I've tried to have conversations about what do you want? What can I help you give to you? And it's not getting anywhere, and that's where my frustration lies. And again, you guys know some of that. And again, we asked for transparency. I'm just going to read one paragraph here, and then Commissioner Young. This was in my letter, and again, I've asked Mr. Massey to publish this letter on his blog.
Read as much of the letter as you'd like, Neil.
On your blog, you frequently use the phrases shine light on the darkness and exposing the lies, deception, and betrayals. In your mission statement, you reference honesty, integrity, and transparency. With that as a background, we ask that you follow through on your promise of honesty and transparency and publish this reply and letter on your blog to shine light on this entire situation, so citizens have a complete picture of the Lake County Visitors Bureau, not based around your personal feelings and opinions, but anchored in facts. I want the citizens to know the facts. I've shared with Mr. Massey numerous times. He has not shared them with his readers on his blog, and that's where I'm frustrated. He's acknowledged them personally. He said he's looked at them, but he's keeping that in the darkness from his readers and his followers, and that's all I'm asking today. I'm happy to talk to him anytime. He has my information. You guys obviously have my information. I'm happy to talk to any of you guys. And honestly, I'm happy to talk to anybody in our community. Like, that's what we're here for. Like Commissioner Pleshnik said, we are here for the community. I have phenomenal relationships that we've built over the past couple years and in my time with the captains. So we are here for the community and to promote it, for economic development, for growth, for travel, and tourism. And I want that to be the focus, not on this.
Very good.
Sir.
I just want to say your presentation this morning it was remarkable for a remarkable Lake County. And I think it's typical of the work you're doing in that it's quality work, quality presentations to businesses, to individuals that are considering Lake County. We need you here. So don't let this stuff, as Commissioner Pleshnik was saying so eloquently, don't let this stuff get to you. you're doing the work. And I think that's recognized by Lake County, by the commissioners. We are extremely happy with what you've done and what you continue to do, and knowing you what you'll continue to do.
We appreciate that, and Commissioner Fletcher, go ahead.
I was just trying to bringing us together back in June, I was just trying to see if there could be a solution, because it was becoming a headache for all of us. And I appreciated your instituting the one public meeting a
But
year.
that's not new, though, Commissioner.
Oh, I thought that was new at that point.
No, we've been doing
I was
that.
still under my COVID brain was
Yeah,
still
that's
doing
fine.
its thing then. But how long has that been going on? A long time.
Long time, yeah.
Okay, well, you do that nonetheless. You've continued it. So,
And one other thing on that point, Commissioner, I talked to the mayors and managers meetings a couple times, at least once a year. I've told every single community in Lake County, hey, if you guys have a question, if you want to come talk to our board, if you have something you want me to present to our board, please let me know. We're happy to do it. If I don't know, some mayor in a community wants to come and talk to our board and talk about something, by all means, let me know. We'll put you on our agenda and we'll have you talk. If a resident has some specific issue or topic that's related to travel and tourism that's relevant to the board, let me know. I'll put it on the agenda. We will talk about it. So it's not like we're not open to that. Again, that's what we want. I mean, I'm one person. I don't know everything. I don't know everything that's going on throughout the county. I mean, I have a pretty good pulse on it, but I don't know everything. And I don't pretend to. So, again,
I'm outraged. I thought you knew everything, Mr. Stein.
Not
That's
yet.
what I demand from my executive director.
Well, I'm not yours, but I appreciate that.
we appreciate your accommodating us. You're being with us.
Well, and again,
sharing
I've worked
your-
great with all of you guys since I've been in this position. Again, Commissioner Plechnik since you started this year, and for the other commissioners for the past 2 years. And again, I hope to have continuous dialogue with all of you guys about what's going on. If there's projects that you're working on that pertain to us, then how we can get involved and help. So, again, that's our mission, and I want that to be the focus. And again, these distractions are frustrating. And they take a lot of time and effort. And I've mentioned it. I mentioned to Mr. Massey, like if we were getting this question from dozens or hundreds of people all the time that they want to come to our meetings, then it's a legitimate conversation we can have. But no organization in this world can change their policies because one person's asking you to do it. Again, I respect anybody's opinion. I will listen to anybody's opinion. But I'm not getting this question from tons of people. I'm just not. So why am I going to do it for one person? Again, no, I wouldn't expect you guys to change county policy based upon one specific person asking you to do it without very good rationale and reasons behind it. So again, I appreciate anybody's opinions. We follow the laws, and that's all we can do. And again, we can just keep doing our good work, keep our head down. We won awards 2 weeks ago for some of our marketing. We have a very big announcement we're making today about something that we've got going on. We're hoping to bring some more awards home next week for marketing. So again, that's our focus, and that's what we want to keep doing. And again, I appreciate all of you guys' support since I've been here, and any other questions, I'm happy to take them.
Very good. While you're there, if I could look to legal, something Neil just said that I think needs to be amplified just a little bit. The Board of Commissioners and the Visitors Bureau are completely independent. Although this board has 3 representatives on the Visitors Bureau board, we do not have control of that board. Neil answers to his board, not to this board. So when Neil makes the point of he's not Commissioner Plechnik's executive director, he's the county's executive director. He is the executive director of the County Visitors Bureau. That's, I think, something worth giving a little more detail on.
Yes, Commissioner, you stated it very well. This Board of Commissioners has no control over the business activities of this Visitors Bureau. And I would say also, as long as there's a Visitors Bureau in Lake County and this board has the bed tax in place, any monies it takes in from the bed tax must go to this Visitors Bureau.
By statute.
Correct.
Mr. President?
Sir.
The lawyer in me must add because there's got to be a footnote to every good legal statement. I, of course, agree with Mr. Hackman, but I do think that it's important to note that while we do not manage the day-to-day business of the Visitors Bureau, and while the Visitors Bureau remains the only nonprofit of that description in Lake County while the bed tax is collected, as our county prosecutor's office has learned from their request to the Attorney General, there is meaningful oversight. The commissioners decided to collect the bed tax and continue to make that decision by leaving its resolution in place. That spigot could be turned on or off. The commissioners could, if there were another option, and forming a nonprofit is not a difficult thing, decide which Visitors Bureau to allocate those bed tax dollars to. And I think the Visitors Bureau, recognizing that oversight from the Commission, in addition to the oversight they have from the Internal Revenue Service federally and from the Ohio Auditor here in Ohio, have listened and been responsive to us when we asked to have representatives on the Commission, or I should say on the Visitors Bureau. And the only reason I raise this point is to demonstrate that they're not wholly unaccountable. It would be unfair to say that the Visitors Bureau has no oversight. It's certainly true that we do not manage the day-to-day business activities, and Neil Stein does not report to the commissioners, but instead to his board. But it also would not be a fair statement to say that they are unaccountable in their receipt of taxpayer dollars. They are. If there were to be serious fraud, as Mr. Massey has pointed out, has occurred in other counties, the commissioners are in a position to address that. And an audit would hopefully turn up such issues either federally or in the state. So even though I'm not here to say this is an ideal situation, whenever a lawsuit is filed, I think Mr. Hackman would agree, we've left the ideal situation. We are not in an unaccountable situation, and I don't abdicate my responsibility, nor does this board. We have a role to play, and I am of the strong belief that we are playing our role, that we have been active. When the Visitors Bureau said, well, you know, we're going to change our bylaws, we won't have commissioners' representatives, Mr. Hammercheck and Mr. Young were very insistent, along with myself, that it's important for the commissioners to have that representation.
Real quick, that's not a true statement, that we were not going to have commissioner folks on the board, just to clarify.
Well, it went from, at one point the commissioners had appointments, the bylaws were amended to make them mere recommendations, and then it was switched back to appointments.
Correct.
To fully and completely state what happened. And I think the entire board felt it was very important that for a body as significant as the Visitors Bureau that does receive taxpayer dollars, that representation is there. So every single board meeting, and I want the public to know this, every single board meeting, our commissioner appointments are there. And they are accountable to us. So do I pretend that in a situation with lawsuit after lawsuit that this is ideal? No, I don't pretend that. But I want to make it clear that this is not a situation where the Visitors Bureau is receiving $1 million with no oversight or accountability from the commissioners, from the state of Ohio, from the IRS. That would not be a true statement. There is oversight. Even though we don't manage the day-to-day activities of the Visitors Bureau, we have a meaningful role in making sure that there are no legal issues, there is no lack of accountability to the taxpayer. That doesn't mean it's ideal. That doesn't mean we can't do more or do better, but I just want to make sure the public understands the checks and balances that are in place so that they don't feel as though we're handing $1 million check of bed tax money to a random nonprofit and saying we're hoping for the best. That's certainly not the case, and I'm personally passionate about being involved with and working closely with the Visitors Bureau because I recognize that your work in a very real sense determines whether our business economy is going to succeed in Lake County. We need you to do well. And I would not be a good commissioner if I just said, good luck, I hope that the economy does well, I'll check in a year later. No, we on a day-to-day basis partner with Neil and the other county agencies like the Lake Development Agency, Lake Development Authority, to make sure that we are doing everything we can to promote Lake County. So I hope that point is made loud and clear, that we're not cutting $1 million check with no accountability. That does not happen.
Very good. Just a point of clarification, the board members that are appointed by the Board of Commissioners are not reporting back to us. They're available to ask questions of, but they're not giving us detailed reports of what's going on the board. Just so Neil's not sitting back like, I got 3 spies here. I just
We don't care. You can know what we're going on. There's nothing nefarious going on, so that's fine if they do. I appreciate everybody's time. Again, I know these meetings can go long. I appreciate you guys giving me a few minutes today to kind of give my side of the story. And again, I'm open if you guys ever have questions or need anything in the future.
Thanks for coming.
Always welcome.
Thank you, Neil.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else in the audience wishing to address the board? Anyone else in the audience? Okay, then this now concludes our second public comment portion, and this also brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn same.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes, thank you. This meeting stands adjourned.